Should you be buying an iPhone 5s in 2016? Let's find out. So I'm trying something different here. I'm going to review an older smartphone. For those of you who have forgotten about the iPhone 5s, it was launched by Apple in September 2013. So it has been 2.5 years since this one hit the market. And from that time on to this point, Apple has launched 5 other iPhones. But the question is, what makes iPhone 5s relevant now? Well, two things. Number one, Apple has recently launched the iPhone SE, which has got the same screen size, same resolution, and same design like the iPhone 5s. And number two, because of this, Apple iPhone 5s has received a major price drop in the US. It now costs around $200. In India, its price is around 18,000, which will go down further when iPhone SE finally hits the market. And if you're joining us from a different part of the world, in your country too, the iPhone 5s is likely to receive a price drop. So that's why it's relevant. Some of the questions I would be answering in this video are, should you be buying an iPhone 5s in 2016? What are some of its pros and cons? And how well does it fare up against the competition, against the present day competition? I'm Sid with Naryavan Mobiles, and here is my review for the iPhone 5s in 2016. So we'll start by talking about the design of this phone. It's got a brushed aluminum back, it's got metal on sides, it feels very premium. It's very sturdy in hand and it's very thin and light as well. Apple actually is a champion when it comes to designing, and designing on this one is very good. In fact, it can give a stiff competition to phones like OnePlus X and Moto X Play in terms of designing, because of the sheer use of premium metals used in this one. And now I have a reason for comparing the iPhone 5s to the other two, because they too are great smartphones under sub 20,000 rupee budget. And apart from the luxurious look, let's focus on the feel of this one. It's very compact. It can fit in all your pockets, may it be jeans, may it be shirts. It does not make its presence felt because of the small size. And I own a Galaxy Note 5, and it's after using the iPhone 5s I realized how convenient the small screen phones were when they were small. Plus, I really like the square design of this iPhone compared to the curved designs that the modern day 6 and 6s have. And the only thing I would like to change in this iPhone is the button placement of the power button. I wish it was on the side, it would have been more convenient. Though I can still reach it, there's no issue. So overall, the designing on this phone is a killer. And it's also available in a gold variant. In fact, this is the iPhone that started gold variants. Plus, we should not forget that this phone was once available for 50,000 rupees. And it still feels like a 50,000 rupee smartphone. And one of the reasons for this convenient form factor is the 4-inch screen. Yes, it's small, but it's also very convenient for dialing numbers with one hand or reaching the notification bar with your thumb. A convenience that is rare in today's time. But it also does have its own limitations. For example, every time I watched a video or played a game on this thing, I wish it was just a little bit bigger. But maybe that's because I'm so acclimatized to bigger displays. And the other issue I personally faced here was that sometimes reading text inside an app strained my eyes. But overall, the display quality is pretty solid. The colors are great, brightness is fine, and it fares decent under the sun too. And regarding the screen size, well, that's something very personal and you need to judge that before even watching this video. Can you live with the 4-inch screen? If you can, then it is for you. By the way, I'll give you a personal tip that if you have a tablet or a laptop where you can watch videos and surf the web, then it makes more sense to buy a smaller phone. Now let's talk about performance on this one. It runs on Apple A7 chip, which is the first 64-bit chip on an iPhone. And it has half the amount of RAM than the iPhone 6s. And overall, if you compare it to the newer iPhones, it does feel slower. But that is very obvious given that it is a 2.5-year-old phone. However, if you don't compare them, I personally didn't find any issues with the phone in terms of speed. It might be laggy here and there, but nothing major. Let me give you an example of OnePlus X here. OnePlus X was launched a couple of months back and it uses an underclocked Snapdragon 801 processor. That's a 2-year-old processor. So processors don't matter, processing does. And a good test for processing is gaming. And in that area, I had no issues with the iPhone 5s. It handled all the high-end games pretty well, and though there were some lags and stutters, which are uncommon in the newer iPhone, It's still a good enough phone for gaming in retrospect. But on a personal note, I believe that a 4-inch screen is not meant for gaming. I want to like it, but I can't. If you see the same game on a bigger screen, you are bound to feel the same. Talking about software, it's pretty up to date. It runs the latest iOS 9.3 and you get all the important functionalities of iOS here, maybe the new Night Shift, Siri, iCloud, and it also has the health app for those of you who are fitness conscious. But one important thing here is the fingerprint scanner. FYI, this was the first iPhone to have a fingerprint scanner. And the big part here is that this phone has it. And phones like Asus Zenfone, Moto X Play, OnePlus X don't. So this gives iPhone 5s a natural edge over the competition. Also, while it does use an outdated version of Touch ID compared to the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus, this is the same fingerprint sensor you will find on iPhone SE. So it's still relevant. And one of the things that people love in the iPhones is the camera. The cameras on iPhone 5s are awesome too. I had no issues in terms of quality or clarity with the snappers of this one. It's great outdoors, good indoors, and is decent in terms of low light performance. Also, if I talk about add-ons, you also get slow-mo video capturing and time-lapse, which are very rich features. Also, 5S was the first phone to sport True Tone Flash, which unlike LED does not make your photos blue. Plus, on a personal note, the shutter speed is great. It also allows you to click in burst mode. The only complaint with the camera I have is that the front shooter is restricted to 1.2 megapixel. But again, iPhone SE 2 has the same configuration. Here is a comparison of the camera samples of iPhone 5s with Moto X Play, OnePlus X and iPhone 6s for you to judge. Now I'll talk about the battery life. If I use my phone moderately, I don't use it much, then it easily lasts throughout a day. However, if I do some intensive stuff, if I play a lot of games, if I watch a couple of videos, if I am on calls for a lot of hours, then the battery life is reduced to 6 to 8 hours. Also, because it's iOS and not Android, the drain on idle time is very low. So now that I've covered all the important aspects of the review, I'll give you my verdict for the iPhone 5s. iPhone 5s though is an old phone, it's not yet outdated because it's still got a great design. It can still run all the apps on the Apple App Store. It can run the games pretty well. It's got the same fingerprint scanner which you'll find in the upcoming iPhone SE. So all these things make it relevant. Plus, the best part, it is sure to support the next iOS release, the iOS 10. So overall, it's a great smartphone, especially for those who would be looking to get the Apple experience at an affordable price. So if you're considering that should you or should you not buy the iPhone 5s in 2016, you surely can. Do remember, it is a 50,000 rupee and $800 smartphone that is now available for around $200. So that was my review of the iPhone 5s in 2016. Do tell me how you like this concept of reviewing the phones from the past in the present. Meanwhile, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up and do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.